Hi, and welcome to YOW Canada. This video is a sneak peek at our Lockout Tagout training. Like all of our courses, you can log in and out of the training as many times as you need, and the progress is saved automatically. This course is offered in English only and includes interactive exercises which are suitable to all learning styles. You can view a list of products as well as demos for all of our training courses directly on our website, www.yowcanada.com/courses. Please feel free to reach out by email, info@yowcanada.com, or by phone at 1-866-688-2845 if you have any questions about our courses or would like more information about our products.
Chapter 1, Introduction and Legislation. In this chapter, we will introduce what Lockout Tagout, or Loto, is, and the legislation for its use. We will define key individuals and their roles under Loto. Finally, we will cover the training requirements. Module 1. How to use this course. Let's take a moment to identify the features. While you are in any module, there are Next and Previous buttons located at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Use these buttons to navigate throughout the course. If you ever need to pause or replay part of the course, you can use the media controller found at the center of the page. Here, you'll also find your speaker volume and mute button. The main menu button located on the bottom left-hand side of the course is available at all times. The main menu will allow you to navigate back to your main course outline. If you have a question, our contact information is also located in the main menu. The main menu also allows you to enable or disable auto navigation. If you are unsure of the meaning of a word used in the course, feel free to check the glossary, which is located in the main menu. It's important to note that this course records your progress and quiz scores as you go through it. If you log out and log in again at a later date, your progress and quiz scores will be restored, and you can continue on in the course from where you last left off, so you don't have to complete all your training at once. Accessibility, keyboard access. This training program allows you to use your keyboard to navigate. To move to the next and previous slides, you can use the left and right arrow keys. To pause or play the slide, hit the space bar. To replay the slide, hit P. The plus and minus keys increase and decrease the audio volume. To mute the audio, hit the 0. Pressing the N key will highlight the narration window, allowing you to use your up and down arrows to scroll through the text. Hit the M key on your keyboard to access the main menu and cycle through the menu options. Hit Enter to select your desired option. During quiz questions, pressing 1 to 4 will select the associated answer, and hitting Enter will submit it. Any buttons on your slide can be accessed by pressing the Tab key. What is Lockout Tagout? Lockout Tagout is defined in the Canadian Standard CSA Z460-13, Control of Hazardous Energy, Lockout, and Other Methods as the placement of a lock or tag on an energy isolating device in accordance with an established procedure. Lockout is a process of controlling hazardous energy while work is being performed on the machinery or equipment. Once the energy has been isolated, a physical device is applied and locked, which prevents a system, machine, or piece of equipment from being re-energized. Tagout is the labeling process that must be applied when systems are locked out. The tags are a warning sign to anyone in the area that the system, machine, or equipment has been locked out and cannot be used until the lockout devices have been removed. Lockout Tagout are site-specific procedures for isolating hazardous energy, which are part of a complete Hazardous Energy Control HEC program. We will go into more detail on HEC programs in the next chapter. Why is Lockout Tagout important? When doing any work on machinery or equipment which is outside normal operations, workers may be exposed to hazardous energy. Non-operational work includes maintenance, removing clogs and jams, or any non-routine work. This energy can be in many forms, such as electrical power, moving parts, or pressurized liquids. When not controlled, the energy can cause severe injuries or even death. Loto is the preferred method for controlling hazardous energy. It ensures that the locks and tags placed on the energy isolating devices can only be removed by the worker who had placed the locks and has their key. Properly following Loto guarantees that the hazardous energy cannot be intentionally or accidentally reactivated. Consequences of improper Loto. Lack of Loto in the workplace is a hazard to the workers and also affects the employer. Between December 2019 and January 2020, there were 6 convictions in Ontario, each resulting in fines and a 25% victim surcharge. The fines totaled more than $1 million. Every case that was settled in this period shows a lack of proper use of Loto and resulted in severe injuries and/or fatalities. For example, on December 13, 2017, a worker in Ontario passed away from thermal injuries after becoming trapped in an operating wood-drying kiln. 2 workers, Mark and John, were asked to fix a malfunctioning damper on kiln number 3. The workers determined that the damper was iced over and that the best course of action would be to let the heat from the kiln melt the ice. Later that day, the 2 workers again checked the status of the damper. Mark entered the kiln and climbed to the roof to inspect the frozen damper. Meanwhile, John went into the kiln's control room. Later, John and his supervisor proceeded to the kiln and opened the front man door. They found Mark dead on the floor. The investigating engineer noted that the emergency push bar was corroded shut and inoperable from the inside. This prevented Mark from being able to leave the kiln, and the extreme heat in the kiln caused his death. Failure by the employer to maintain the emergency exits directly led to a worker's loss of life. This incident resulted in a $225,000 fine and an additional 25% victim surcharge. This could have been prevented by using Loto procedures to verify that all entry and exit doors are functional or locked in an open position when a worker needs to enter the kiln. Additionally, the kiln could have been locked and tagged out, preventing it from running while workers were inside the kiln. Components of Loto. HEC program. A hazardous energy control HEC program is designed to identify all potential sources of harm to anyone performing work on any system, machinery, or equipment. A set of procedures to eliminate or reduce the risk of each identified hazard is included in the program. Loto program. A Lockout Tagout Loto program is a set of site and equipment-specific procedures, which are an important part of a complete HEC program. A Loto program must be carefully created and followed by competent workers. A Loto program makes sure the work being performed is kept safe by placing any hazardous energy in a zero-energy state and installing lockable devices to make sure it stays in that state. A zero-energy state is when a hazard has no energy flowing to or from it. A hazard in a zero-energy state cannot cause accidental injuries. Loto devices and tags. These are the physical isolating devices, locks, and tags which are used in the Loto process. These devices ensure that the hazards and risks identified remain in a zero-energy state. They must only be applied or removed by an authorized individual. Documentation. Lastly, documentation shall be created to track the entire HEC process. The documentation must cover program creation, program assessment, training, each time the processes are used, and post-work evaluation. Legislation and overview. In Canada, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, OSA RSO 1990 C0.1, outlines that Loto must be used where hazardous energy may injure or kill a worker. The Act refers to the Canadian Standards Association, or CSA standard Z460-13 for requirements on the HEC program and the Loto program. This course will explain those requirements in further detail. Across Canada, 5 requirements are the same for HEC and Loto. Procedures must be created that are specific and comprehensive to the work being done. Training must be provided to the workers on the procedures used by the company. Written documentation must be available to support both of the above steps. Unique locks must be issued to each worker as required for the tasks to be done. And employer responsibility is key in making sure that all of the above are met. They must also make sure to follow any other federal and provincial legislation. Most provinces in Canada have their own additional legislation in regards to Loto that goes above and beyond the federal laws. Click on a province on the map to see a link to that province's legislation. Key individuals. The regulations and Loto programs refer to different types of individuals in the workplace. It's important to understand each of their roles. Authorized individual. A person who has been trained to implement the site-specific HEC program and is responsible for applying the Loto procedures. A person performing the work on the equipment under Loto must be an authorized individual. Affected individual. People who are not directly involved in the work requiring hazardous energy control, but whose work may be affected by the Loto. Examples include equipment operators or service technicians in the area of the Loto. Other individual. Those that work in the area of equipment that is under Lockout Tagout. These workers need to receive awareness level training of the HEC program. Primary authorized individual. An authorized individual who has been assigned to oversee a group Loto scenario. They have authority over the other authorized individuals involved. We will go into more detail about their duties in Chapter 5. Competent individual or competent worker. An individual possessing knowledge, experience, and training to perform a specific duty. Other useful definitions can be found in the glossary from the main menu. Loto Responsibilities. Everyone in the workplace has a role and responsibility when it comes to the Lockout Tagout program. The employer and management are responsible for creating the written HEC and Loto programs, identifying the individuals, machines, equipment, and processes that will be included in the HEC program, providing the personal protective equipment, PPE, and equipment needed to enact the HEC and Loto programs, and monitoring, reviewing, or modifying the program as needed to remain compliant. Supervisors are responsible for ensuring that the work is being done using the proper protective devices, measures, and procedures, ensuring that all individuals are properly trained in HEC and Loto programs, and ensuring that individuals who are not trained in Loto are not involved in the Loto process and are not performing the work which required Loto. Workers are responsible for assisting in the creation of programs and procedures, following all programs and procedures, and reporting any problems with the equipment, programs, or procedures to their supervisor or employer. Manufacturers are responsible for designing machines, equipment, or processes so that the user can effectively control hazardous energy during non-routine activities, identifying each hazardous energy source in the equipment and labeling it to indicate its type and magnitude, applying labels to the machinery or equipment indicating HEC and Loto requirements, provide the methods necessary to dissipate any stored or residual energy sources, and provide the means for verifying and monitoring energy levels. Loto Training. Employers are required to provide training for all individuals. Workers must understand the basic program purpose, function, and restrictions. Employers also need to make sure that workers fully understand how to control the hazards associated with the equipment that has the potential to injure or kill them. Proof of training must be kept for at least 6 months after termination of the worker's employment. There are 3 types of employees that require training: authorized individuals, affected individuals, and other individuals. We will look at these differences over the next few slides. Loto Training. Authorized individuals. Authorized individuals are the workers responsible for applying HEC and will be performing the work requiring Loto. Therefore, they need the most in-depth training. The required training for an authorized individual must be carried out before they perform any HEC or Loto duties, will be specific to the individual's duties and environment, and will be documented and retained for review. Site-specific training should cover the type and magnitude of the hazardous energy sources present in the workplace, the locations of those energy sources, the methods and means necessary to isolate and control those energy sources, the machines and processes specific to the work required, and the specific devices, locks, and tags used on the worksite. Loto Training. Affected individuals. While affected individuals are not involved in the HEC directly, they work in the area or on the equipment which is under Loto. Therefore, these workers need a level of training which will ensure not only their safety, but also the safety of the authorized individuals. Required training for affected individuals must be carried out before any HEC or Loto is applied, be specific to their environment, detail the specific devices, locks, and tags used on the worksite, provide an understanding of the hazards they may encounter and the hazards posed to the authorized individuals, and be documented and retained for review. Loto Training. Other individuals. Other individuals are employees that work in the area of equipment that is under Lockout Tagout. Training for other individuals must cover awareness level training of the HEC program. Know what the site-specific devices, locks, and tags look like, and understand that if they encounter any Loto devices, they are not to touch them. Loto Retraining. Authorized, affected, or other individuals will require retraining at least every 3 years. When the individual has failed to follow any section of the HEC or Loto programs. When there is a change in equipment, energy sources, programs, or procedures, or when the individual is required to perform an HEC or Loto task outside their normal duties. The authorized individual's training needs to be assessed in order to determine that the individual has complete knowledge of the HEC and Loto programs, can recognize and understand the hazardous energy types that exist in their workplace, can follow the Loto procedures, and understands how to properly use the Loto devices that are supplied. Any individual that does not meet these standards is to be retrained before they are allowed to use any HEC or Loto program. Chapter 1. Conclusion. That concludes the introduction to Loto and its legislation requirements in Canada. Remember, a Loto program is an important aspect of controlling hazardous energy. Following the Loto procedures keeps yourself and your co-workers safe. In Chapter 2, we will cover hazardous energy and the HEC program in more detail. Welcome to the end of module quiz. Here, you'll be presented with a number of questions that you need to answer. You only have one attempt at each question, and you need to get at least 75% in order to pass, unless otherwise specified on your screen. If you pass, you can continue on to other modules. If you don't pass, you will need to repeat this section and the quiz as many times as you need to until you get a passing quiz score. Good luck!